The Vauxhall Frontera is back, and thankfully it's very different from before. So it's not some ropey off-roader. Instead, it looks set to be one of the cheapest new electric SUVs that you can buy. And today, we're going to tell you everything you need to know about it.
Now, the original Frontera was essentially a rebadged Isuzu, and not a particularly good one. It tried to tap into the off-road SUV market of the time, but it was pretty off the pace compared to its rivals. This takes a very different approach to things. Now, it is still an SUV, but it's not an off-roader. And instead, it's a much more on-trend replacement for the Vauxhall Crossland, which also wasn't a particularly good car. But the failings of this car's predecessors shouldn't be held against it, because pretty much everything about this is new. So size-wise, it's bigger than the Crossland, but it still sits in the same place in Vauxhall's SUV lineup. So that is above the smaller Mokka, but below the bigger Grandland. And in terms of styling, compared to the Crossland, really it does have a very different look. It's got a much more pronounced so-called Vauxhall visor at the front here. It also comes in a two-tone paint finish with a contrasting roof, and it generally has quite boxy styling. Inside the Frontera, you have two 10-inch screens. You've got one for your digital driver display and another one for the touchscreen infotainment system. Now, this is a pre-production model, so we can't draw too many conclusions about the interior of this car, and we can't have a proper play with this infotainment system, but we can point out the fact that it has this thumb shelf, which might sound silly, but it does mean you've got somewhere to rest your hand while you poke and prod this screen, which is very handy. And actually, lots of other infotainment systems don't have that. Or the place that you want to rest your hand actually has some touch-sensitive buttons on it instead, which means it's just really difficult to use while you're driving. But hopefully, that won't be a problem in the Frontera. And it's also great that down here you can see you've got physical controls for the air conditioning, which is really great that Vauxhall hasn't just buried all the climate controls on the touchscreen, which is very fiddly to use while you're driving. Elsewhere in this interior, I can also point out a new steering wheel in here for Vauxhall, and it does actually feel quite nice and thin, and it includes a new steering wheel control setup as well. Now, at a glance, it might look like these are touch sensitive, but fortunately, they're not. They are still physical buttons that need a proper prod to use them. But it is a bit of a shame that they're not individual buttons, and instead they're all on this one kind of wobbly panel on the steering wheel. Other things to point out include down here at the gear selector, you can see you can put it in D for drive in this electric model, but there's also a C mode. Now, normally in an electric car, you might expect a B mode. When you put it in B mode, it will increase the level of regenerative braking. But in the Frontera, that's been swapped around, where the normal D mode actually already has the regenerative braking in its strongest setting. And if you want to slacken that off, then you put it in C for comfort. The driving position itself does seem pretty good, with a good view out the front of the car, and you've got this movable armrest next to you as well. And underneath this, you've got a storage compartment. In front of that, there's another cubby. You've got two cup holders and a spot for your wireless phone charging. There's also 4 USB ports in this car, 2 up front and 2 in the back. The door bins are a bit on the small side, and it does seem a bit weird that you've got this compartment for the passenger here, but it's angled up slightly. It's not level. But before you start thinking that if you put your phone at the top, it will just slide straight to the bottom, apparently production versions of this car will have a rubber mat on the bottom to stop that from happening. Now, as we've said, this is a pre-production car, so we can't draw many conclusions about the materials that are used or the fit and finish in here. But if this is, as expected, towards the budget end of the SUV class, then it should be reasonably competitive against the other budget SUVs that this is up against. Now, the Frontera is bigger than the Crossland, and in the rear seats, it's noticeably more spacious. So you can see legroom is really very generous, and headroom as well. You'd have to be well over 6 foot tall to feel cramped back here. However, it's not quite as simple as that, because the headroom in particular comes at the cost of the comfort of your actual sitting position, because the seat base is angled up slightly, and it's also quite low relative to the floor. So it means that when I'm sitting up straight like this, I've got loads of space under my knees, and it does just feel as if I'm falling back into the car and angled backwards slightly. So it's not actually particularly comfortable, even though I've got loads of space. What is good though is that the floor is pretty flat. You've only got a very small central lump here. There are those 2 USB ports as well, and you've also got a smartphone holder, which is handy on the back of the front seat. But if you are sat in this middle seat, then it is just a shame that the seat back here is really rather firm. But still, very spacious, but not necessarily the most comfortable place to sit. The Frontera has a 460 litre boot, which is usefully bigger than the 410 litre boot that the old Crossland had. And you can see here that, as standard, you have virtually no loading lip at the front here, and that's because you get a height adjustable boot floor as standard. So what you can do is lower it down to increase the overall capacity that you have in the boot here, which is very handy, or put it back in its highest position where you have no loading lip and lots of underfloor storage as well. And in terms of the rest of the boot back here, it's fairly simple. You've got some side compartments at the front. It is a bit of a shame there's so much wheel arch intrusion at the back of the boot, but still, this is pretty practical. And if you want even more space than this, then what you can do is take the parcel shelf out. Unfortunately, there isn't anywhere to actually store it within the boot itself, so you have to ditch it on the pavement somewhere. And then you can lower the rear seats. They split fold 60-40, so in two chunks rather than 40-20-40, but it is very easy to put them down with the tags on the back there. And once everything is down and the parcel shelf is out, then you have 1,600 litres of storage there. But with the parcel shelf back in, with the rear seats up, it's 460 litres, which compared to its rivals is really very good. It means that the boot space available is bigger than what you find in a Peugeot 2008 and also a Jeep Avenger, and it's very similar to the impressively practical Ford Puma and new Dacia Duster. The main rival for the Frontera could end up being the car that this is most closely related to. So the underpinnings of the Frontera are shared with the new Citroën C3 and the C3 Aircross. And like those cars, you'll be able to buy the Frontera as a fully electric SUV or one with a petrol engine. For the electric version, official specification has yet to be completely announced, but we do know that it will offer an electric range of up to 250 miles officially, and the maximum charging speed will be 100 kilowatts. It's also highly likely that it will have the same 44 kilowatt hour LFP lithium iron phosphate unit that's found in the new Citroën EC3. For the fuel-powered versions, there will be a 1.2 litre three-cylinder petrol engine with two different power outputs. There will be a 99 brake horsepower version and a more powerful 134 brake horsepower version. Both setups will have mild hybrid technology, and they'll both come with an automatic gearbox. There won't actually be a manual available with this car. And all versions of the Frontera will be front-wheel drive. Now, if you're looking at all this and thinking, it all sounds a bit familiar, really, there are lots of small SUVs around and lots of small electric SUVs as well, you might think that it would be hard for the Vauxhall Frontera to stand out. But it may well do just that because of its starting price. Now, we don't know the specifics yet, but what we do know is that the Vauxhall Mokka Electric has recently had £7,000 taken off its starting price, making it the cheapest electric SUV that you can buy. The Corsa Electric has had a similar price reduction, so it's clear the direction that Vauxhall is going in. And as we mentioned earlier, this car is based very closely on the Citroën C3 and the Citroën EC3, both of which have very low starting prices. Now, we don't know the specifics, but we have been told the electric version of the Frontera should have a starting price below £30,000. And if it does, then that would make it very competitive indeed. So that is everything we know so far about the new Vauxhall Frontera. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see another one, then click up there. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. And if you want to find out even more about this car and all of its rivals, and if you want a great deal on your next car, click on that link to go to whatcar.com.